Hi, my name is Nujum. Today I wanted to start a new sort of style of video, I guess. This is very different from the normal content I produce, but I want to try making more discussion videos. They're a little bit different from what I'm used to, so forgive me if there's, some editing weirdness. I'm trying to figure this stuff out. But yeah, if you guys follow my channel at all, you know I am a mega nerd when it comes to game design, when it comes to game development, when it comes to things like how games are balanced and how games are designed. There's a lot of interesting stuff, I think, for the League of Legends design team to handle, and I want to spend a couple of videos just talking about some of the more interesting design decisions and changes that they've made to the game. So, one of them, obviously, Ghost versus Flash. And this is the recently buffed version of Ghost, where you've gotten more movement speed and the cooldown was reduced by 30 seconds. Now, we've had this Ghost buff for a while now, but it's notable that in the recent patches, Boots of Swiftness were nerfed from 60 movement speed to 55 movement speed, and Iceborne Gauntlet had its armor reduced and some other stat I forget. So, movement speed is generally much harder to get, or rather a difference in movement speed with Iceborne Gauntlet slowing your opponent. Because of this, I think Ghost is actually in a pretty good spot now. I don't think it's going to take over Flash, and I'll get into that in a sec, but it's not a cheese summoner spell anymore, which is very important. Riot right now, you've probably seen the rework with the masteries. They're probably going to look at runes pretty soon. Riot is trying to struggle with something important in League of Legends, and that is a player's individual playstyle. How do you build your character in the pre-game to better fit how you will play the character in the game, right? Do you take attack speed on Sejuani and just farm the shit out of his jungle? Or do you take some movement speed, Quince, and just gank the shit out of everyone? Because Sejuani's actually a pretty good ganker even before level 6, you know? You don't see a lot of that right now because everyone just copies the pros, but I see Riot making, noticeable strides. I mean, obviously, we had the preseason where they nerfed teleport pretty hard, right? But everyone copies the pros. I mean, myself included. Whenever I, pick up a new champion, I look, okay, what are the pros taking in terms of runes and masteries? That's what I'll copy. And you'll see Riot, trying to bounce around that, which is all very interesting. So, we have to ask, is that happening with summoner spells as well, right? That's something else the balance team wants to look at. Because while we're making all these changes to masteries and runes, summoner spells have been extremely flat in terms of diversity. You always see, for one thing, of all 5 characters in League of Legends, all of them take Flash. Pretty much 100%, maybe 95% of characters in League of Legends, even after the Ghost buff, take Flash, right? And then obviously your junglers have to take Smite, your AD carries generally take Heal, because that's a safe summoner spell, and they're usually just running away and trying not to die from shit. Mid lane is probably where we see the most diversity. In Ignite, sometimes take Exhaust, Barrier, Vladimir takes Ghost in the mid lane. But even mid lane, it's very champion dependent, right? Some champions will never touch Exhaust or Barrier. Some champions will never use Ignite. And so we see a lot of static summoner spells. So trying to buff Ghost is an attempt to make the League more diverse. Especially in the case of we want more top laners taking Ghost. We want your Rammus jungle to, instead of take Flash, take Ghost. And all of this will hopefully create a more dynamic game where you pick the summoners that you know you will play towards. You pick the summoners that fit your playstyle. If you never teleport, then maybe you should consider taking Ignite instead of teleport, or taking Ghost instead of teleport. And Riot wants to try and make this a viable option. Now, replacing Flash is obviously going to be an uphill battle. I mean, for one thing, players are used to it, and players don't like change. They like sticking to what they know, because what they know is what they're good at. However, I don't think Ghost is actually all that bad. So let's talk the theory, right? Ghost versus Flash. Well, for one obvious thing, you're seeing me play Rammus with Ghost right now. Rammus with Flash is actually really powerful because Rammus can flash over minions, right? There's a couple really big things about Flash. One, it goes over walls, it goes over minions, it goes over, spells, in case you're, worried about flashing over an Ash arrow, right? Leona ultimate, you can flash out of that. Ghost isn't quite as good at avoiding abilities, right? And that's because Flash is all about the immediate power. Flash is always all about the quickest reaction time possible. And that's valuable in League. It's one of the big advantages that Flash will always have over every other summoner spell, that you're giving your opponents less time to react to your Flash taunt on Rammus, to your Flash Bola Strike on Rengar, to your Flash ultimate on Annie, right? All of these things are meant to make sure your opponents have as little time as possible to react. And because of that immediate power, for one thing, it makes a really good montage for plays and highlight reels. Hey, I'm on YouTube, and everyone watches highlight reels because they look really cool, right? And Flash is an enabler for all those flashy plays, but also it's an enabler because it gives you the ability to make a play on your opponent. It gives you the ability to pull sort of a trick on your opponent, get a leg up over them, and prove that you are better at utilizing your resources and basically taking the opponent down in that case. Now, Ghost has always had a few advantages over Flash, beyond just being the Chi Summoner spell, of course. Ghost most notably grants way more distance than Flash, especially after the buff. Ghost has always been known to just give you more distance than Flash. If you're trying to use Flash as a gap closer, sure, but Ghost technically closes more gap. Ghost is also up more often, and psychologically that matters because there are times where you will be pushed up in lane, and rather than, if you get ganked, you're going to have to flash out many of the time. If instead of flashing out, you just ghost out, you ghost away from that gank, then you can play more forward because your ghost is on a much lower cooldown, and that means you're able to play more aggressive more often because your getaway summoner spell is just up more often. And having your summoner spells, your power, quote-unquote, up more frequently actually does matter a lot when it comes to your one-on-ones, your dodging of skill shots, your gap closing, right? This creates sort of a long-term plan, right? Where you're going, I'm picking Ghosts because I want to have Ghost when my opponent doesn't have Flash. That's also one of the ways it's being applied right now. So yeah, Ghost has a few ways, but it's definitely slower than Flash. And so right now, players are having to choose between a slower long-term plan in Ghost and the immediate power of Flash. And obviously, Flash is just what they're used to right now, so a lot of players are picking Flash just by default because that's what they're used to. But I would recommend people looking into Ghost. On any champion, you think Annie doesn't need Ghost? You think Annie needs Flash? Actually, Annie, I think, could do some pretty good stuff with the Ghost. And I think Riot is clearly trying to push the Ghost. Obviously, Riot wants to make Flash weaker, it being the premier summoner spell. I mean, not obviously. This is my understanding from watching Riot over the years. The reason they're not outright nerfing Flash, and I think this is the response towards Teleport as well when they nerf Teleport, the community really doesn't like nerfs. This is kind of a common issue with League of Legends right now. Anytime you see a nerf on a champion, someone's going to complain. But no one ever complains about a buff, so this is actually a really neat sort of workaround the community Riot's going for right here. Instead of, hey, we're going to nerf this summoner spell that you use and you feel it in the game and you're like, oh, god damn it, if only they didn't nerf it, you know? Rather than that, you're seeing, oh, I'm so glad they buffed this thing, now I can pick it and I feel a lot better about picking it and it feels much stronger and oh my god, isn't this great? It's a weird mentality thing that they're tackling here, but it doesn't seem to be working, and I wonder if they will just drop the hammer, ban, or not ban, but nerf Flash in the future. Because again, it's all about getting players to want to play different styles, and it's always going to be tricky, right? There's one really big thing that I haven't talked about yet. Flash versus Ghosts. I've talked about immediate power versus slower power, but generally like more of a long-term plan. But it's important to recognize that Flash is always going to be good. This is kind of also the problem with Teleport versus Ignite top lane, right? Teleport is always going to be good. You died in lane, you can teleport back to lane. You want to back early, you can teleport back really fast, right? You can teleport bot lane and then just roam back to the top lane or the mid lane or whatever the heck. Whereas if you're taking Ignite, that's a much more situational summoner spell. Yeah, it's on a lower cooldown. Yeah, it gives you an immediate power where teleport's a little bit slower. But the thing is, teleport's all much more versatile, right? So that's also something the design team has to balance for. All of this stuff makes Flash much more desirable than Ghost, and it'll be interesting to see how Riot tackles this in the future, how they continue to balance summoner spells, as well as the runes and masteries. Yeah, that's everything I wanted to talk about. If you made it to this... Oh, God, I'm so sorry about my talking. I'll try and get better at it for you guys. So, thank you all for watching all the way through the video if you did. Leave some comments down below and let me know what you think about the Flash versus Ghost debate. And is there any champion you would take Ghost on? I'm definitely going to be trying to keep up with it, at least in my head. Don't know if I'll continue making videos on it because there's so many other videos I do want to make. Thank you all for watching. My name is Nujum. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!